California strikes back. Lawmakers approve redistricting plan to counter Texas. By Culture Thought. August 22, 2025, Sacramento. In a fast-moving political maneuver on Thursday, California's Democratic legislature approved a high-stakes redistricting package that would grant the party potential control of 5 additional U.S. House seats, directly responding to a similar Republican strategy in Texas. Governor Gavin Newsom, seizing the momentum, signed the package into law later that day, launching Proposition 50, a November 4 special election initiative to let voters decide whether to temporarily suspend the state's Independent Redistricting Commission. The measure caps the Independent Commission's authority until the 2030 census, allowing the legislature to draw new maps favoring Democrats.
Good evening. California Governor Gavin Newsom is hosting Texas Democrats who have left their state to block a redistricting vote. So the move prevents the Texas House from actually voting on a proposed plan to redraw congressional maps to give the GOP more House seats. The Texas House needs 100 members present in order to conduct business, but only 95 lawmakers were there today. So it comes as California is planning to counter any efforts in Texas with a redistricting plan of its own. So Lauren Tom's joining us now in studio to break down this debate and more. So much happening in this.
Yeah, Juliet, redistricting or redrawing congressional boundaries, that's a practice that usually only happens once a decade with each national census. But an effort in Texas to add more Republican seats in Congress to hold on to their majority in the next midterms is having a ripple effect nationwide. And right here in California, a battle that could not only change California's representation, but could shift the balance of power nationwide.
We are running to the front lines. We are running to the front lines to stand with other Democrats across the state of Texas, across the state of California, across this nation.
Texas Democrats took to California's state capitol Friday. Governor Gavin Newsom welcomed a group of lawmakers who fled Austin to block a Republican-led plan to redraw district boundaries, a plan designed to add 5 new Republican seats in Congress, potentially locking in a GOP majority on Capitol Hill in the midterms. It comes as Governor Newsom is planning to retaliate with a plan of his own to allow lawmakers to redraw California's map to add 5 new Democratic seats.
We are talking about emergency measures to respond to what's happening in Texas, and we will nullify what happens in Texas.
Governor Newsom stresses the plan he's bringing to voters is a temporary maneuver. California's Independent Redistricting Commission would then draw new maps in 2031 after the next census. Redistricting expert Paul Mitchell says the plan comes with high stakes.
This might be the whole ballgame. If California doesn't do this and the Republicans do, they could affect not just Texas's 5, but maybe 7, 8, or 9 seats around the country that would be changed so that Republicans can win those seats.
California put redistricting powers in the hands of an independent citizen commission in 2010, taking that power away from state lawmakers. Gerrymandering, the partisan manipulation of district lines, has been a political weapon used by both parties for more than 200 years. But Republican Congressman Kevin Kiley says the political stunts have gone too far. He recently introduced legislation to ban mid-decade redistricting efforts nationwide, like what Texas Republicans are up to and what Newsom is trying to do.
This is a way for us to sort of, stop this chaos from spreading any further. And it can allow us to, not go further down this road with this enormous distraction.
San Francisco Republican Party Chair Bill Jackson says California's redistricting plan would all but wipe out his party's presence in Congress.
Republicans in California have 17% of the congressional seats in the state. Now, if this was reduced to 4 out of 50-ish, it's outrageous. There's going to be a consequence to people's sense that the system is fair.
But Democrats are feeling the weight of the national balance of power, a fight Assemblymember Ash Kalra says they never expected to lead.
I am stunned that we have to even contemplate this. It's shocking that we're being put in this position, but we're not going to stand by.
Meanwhile, Newsom saying it's meeting fire with fire.
We will pick up 5 seats with the consent of the people. And that's the difference between the approach we're taking and the approach they're taking. We're doing it on a temporary basis. We're doing it in a fully transparent way. And we're doing it by asking the people of the state of California for their consent and support.
Now, California lawmakers said they should have several maps ready to show voters next week. The legislature will have to decide by August 22nd whether to hold a special election to move forward with the newly drawn maps. Governor Newsom has proposed November 4th for that special election. Jules.
All right, Lauren, thank you. Okay, so the next question is, what do Republicans in Texas have to say about the Democrats' visit to California? Political reporter Jack Fink from our CBS Dallas-Fort Worth affiliate has a reaction.
Here at the Texas Capitol, Democrats denied Republicans a quorum again, so the Texas House could not vote on these new congressional maps that will give the GOP 5 extra seats. Republicans I spoke with today told me they were furious that some of the Democrats appeared with Governor Newsom and Speaker Emerita Nancy Pelosi in California.
For them to say that what Texas is doing is somehow unfair or unconstitutional, they're misrepresenting the facts. They know that's not true. And so while they can go to other states and say, well, if you do this, it's going to happen here, it can happen in every state across the country if we want it to.
Congressman Mark Vesey of Fort Worth will see his district change under the new map. And so he applauded his fellow Democrats for going out to California and other Democratic-led states this week because he wants those states to do the same thing as Texas, redistrict mid-decade.
Even if they have to push their primaries back, they need to redistrict. Our country is at stake here.
Some Democrats concede they can't stay away from Texas forever and that these new maps will likely be approved here, but they say they are hoping California and other Democratic-led states will also change their congressional seats so that will neutralize any gains made here in Texas.
Political stakes and strategy. California Democrats justify this unprecedented move as a necessary emergency response to what they view as partisan overreach and defend it as preserving representative balance. Senator Lena Gonzalez, a co-author, emphasized, "The decks are stacked against us, so what we need to do is fight back." Critics argue the plan undermines California's long-held tradition of fair, nonpartisan redistricting, pointing to 2008 to 2010 reforms that established the Independent Commission. Meanwhile, Texas Republicans are advancing a parallel map to net 5 additional Republican-leaning districts without voter approval. This aggressive gerrymander, encouraged by former President Trump, ignited California's countermove and kindled what many see as a national redistricting arms race.
California officially entering the fight, entering the chat over redistricting, at the same time that Texas Democrats are now signaling they'll end their protest against Republican plans to gerrymander at least 5 Democratic districts out of existence.
It's not complicated. We're doing this in reaction to a president of the United States that called a sitting governor of the state of Texas and said, find me 5 seats. We're doing it in reaction to that act. They want to rig these elections, and they want the power that gerrymandering provides because they know what Donald Trump knows. He's going to lose the midterms.
That announcement from Governor Newsom allows Texas Democrats to end their weeks-long standoff. It saw them flee their state to try to deny Republicans the ability to pass those new congressional district maps. In a statement, the head of the Texas House Democratic Caucus saying this, quote, "As Democrats across the nation join our fight to cause these maps to fail their political purpose, we're prepared to bring this battle back to Texas under the right conditions and take this fight to the courts." Newsom's push to redraw the map will not be as easy for him as it was for Republicans in Texas. Under California law, congressional districts are drawn every 10 years by a bipartisan commission. To change that, Newsom will have to get 2/3 of both chambers of the state legislature to approve putting a ballot measure on the ballot, a ballot proposition, and then Californians themselves have to vote to change the state's constitution. It's a gamble, even in a heavily Democratic state, but one that Newsom seems eager to make as he, you guessed it, eyes 2028 and is trying to cast himself as the Democrats' strongest voice against President Trump.
He's a failed president. Who else sends ICE same time having a conversation like this? Someone who's weak. Someone is broken. Someone whose weakness is masquerading as strength. The most unpopular president in modern history.
All right, our panel is going to join us now in the arena. CNN legal analyst, former federal prosecutor Elliot Williams, CNN chief political analyst, former Obama senior advisor David Axelrod, CNN political commentator, former South Carolina state representative Bakari Sellers, and CNN senior political commentator, former political director for Mitch McConnell, Scott Jennings. Welcome to all of you. Thank you very much for being here. David Axelrod, how to put this? The posturing, the way that Gavin Newsom was looking at that camera. The way that they built that crowd behind him, the way he made this announcement, I mean, it very much feels like a political campaign speech rally behind this, trying to set himself up as a foil to Donald Trump. Not the first time he's done that. Is it going to succeed?
Well, I don't know about the second. I would say this. Certainly it did look like that. Yes, he seems to be running for president. Yes, there's a constituency within the Democratic Party that wants a muscular response to the president. He's trying to play that role. It's also true that the president did call the governor of Texas to try and find him 5 seats because he is worried about the midterms, and it is changing the rules in the middle of the game. And that's why the California Democrats want to act, and I think that's a different issue.
So, Bakari, if that is a different issue, are Democrats playing this the right way? I mean, there is definitely this bipartisan commission to draw these maps exists for a reason. Democrats have spent a lot of time arguing institutions, norms, do this, play by the rules, and he's basically saying, you know what, we're going to throw that out.
I don't think he's saying throw it out. I'm not the biggest Gavin Newsom cheerleader, but he's being reactionary to, as David said, this president actually going out in the middle of the census. We're not even at a point where you go through redistricting and he's rigging the rules in the middle of the game. I actually was in the legislature in 2010. I actually sat on South Carolina's redistricting committee. I've actually been a part of a case that talked about gerrymandering that went all the way to the United States Supreme Court. So I understand this issue intently. And what we're seeing, though, is I've always said that Democrats and Republicans alike, this is the most unsexy issue that will rip apart the fabric of our democracy. It's not necessarily January 6th. It's not necessarily Donald Trump. It's not these things. But redistricting, gerrymandering, how we draw these lines will rip away at the fabric of democracy. And that's what we're seeing right now. If it becomes a free-for-all, that's why the Voting Rights Act was so important. That's why John Roberts' efforts to just pull apart the Voting Rights Act was so important. That's why I believe, and this should be the overarching push, and this should be something that Scott Jennings and Bakari Sellers could agree upon. There need to be independent, non-elected commissions that draw these lines.
So do you think Newsom's wrong?
And I mean, I think Newsom's playing politics. But he's playing politics in response to.
Is it good politics for him?
I mean, first of all, the priority for Gavin Newsom's always Gavin Newsom. So is it good politics for Gavin Newsom? I'm assuming there's a poll somewhere that says yes.
It's tricky politics, and here's why independent redistricting commissions are actually quite popular with California voters. They like this system that they've set up that they've had for about 2 decades or so. It gets different when you say, well, what if we change things to level the playing field with Donald Trump or to fight back against Donald Trump not playing fair? When the polls ask that question, California woters say, wait a second. But it's interesting, like they like what they have. And so over the next couple months, it really will be fascinating as to how it all plays out.
I totally disagree with one thing you said. This is extremely sexy. When we were preparing for the show,
thank you.
I had to put Axelrod under a fan in the green room. You should have seen him back there. It was wild. He was getting out of hand.
We're 6 minutes.
I mean, he was showing me.
First of all, it's 4 o'clock. I guess it is happy hour.
Redistricting maps are labeled NSFW on Axel's phone. I'm just saying.
54 more minutes of this.
And here I said it would be fine to not have another woman on the panel.
Let me summarize Gavin Newsom's speech today. Gerrymandering is evil. Please vote for my gerrymandering. Of course, he failed to mention that it's already gerrymandered. Republicans get 40% of the vote in California. They have 17% of the congressional seats under a supposed independent redistricting commission. So we're going to further gerrymander the gerrymandering
by that
Texas
standard,
to act in the
by
first
that
place.
standard, Scott, Texas is also gerrymandered. So
you want to keep going? How about Illinois?
But here's the issue. I would readily
Illinois is
concede it.
gerrymandered.
On a regular census, the legislature there
Correct.
gerrymandered Illinois. That's right. It wasn't in the middle of the game. But let the other side, because I think, you can fuzzy up that, and I think you've got some good political, there's probably good sense politics behind fuzzying that up. But here's the problem, and you sort of touched on it. Donald Trump fundamentally does not believe in rules, in laws, in norms, in institutions. He believes in doing what's in his political self-interest, his personal self-interest. And if you are the other party and you are playing by the traditional rules and laws and norms and institutions, you're involved in asymmetric warfare because you've got someone who is willing not to play by the rules while you're playing by the rules, and that's what they're struggling with.
And even more, just
1 second, Bakari, because to David's point, I want to underscore and play this something else that Gavin Newsom said here, because he basically made the argument that David is making here, and the way that he put it was rather evocative. Let's watch.
We need to disabuse ourselves of the way things have been done. It's not good enough to just hold hands, have a candlelight vigil, and talk about the way the world should be. We have got to recognize the cards that have been dealt, and we have got to meet fire with fire.
Not good enough to have a candlelight vigil, he says.
I mean, I agree with that. I mean, there has to be some level of fortitude the Democrats show, and I think that is the palpable type of frustration that you feel from Democrats. They don't see it from Chuck Schumer. They're tired of the Hakeem Jeffries videos that are just kind of in the Netherlands where he talks with his hands. Like, people want to see this type of reaction. I will say this, though, just to build on David's point a little bit more. Like, Donald Trump is everything that you said, but he likes to win more than all of those things. And if his policies were popular, if he thought he was going to win re-election, this wouldn't be a thing. If Epstein files weren't a thing, this wouldn't be a thing. So all of the things that he's doing, he is trying to, and he's doing a good job. It's called, in politics, it's called flooding the zone. Every single day is something else. It's DC, it's this, it's that, it's everything else, because he's flooding the zone. And if he thought that he could win with a big, beautiful bill, if he thought his policies in DC were so important, if he did X, Y, and Z, this would not be an issue. And I would just offer, if Republicans thought they could win, they wouldn't be changing the rules.
I mean, Scott, there is a point, if you don't call Abbott and ask for 5 more seats if you don't think you need them.
Well, he's trying to get any kind of advantage that he can. Hardly unusual for a politician or a political party. I totally disagree with you about the popularity of his policies. I think Democrats are on the wrong side of violent crime. I think they're on the wrong side of illegal immigration. And I think they're on the wrong side of virtually every cultural issue he's put in play. I think we're going to be quite fine fighting that out.
So the principal issue that people are coping with in this country is the cost of things. Today, wholesale prices jumped a full point, the biggest in 3 years. So you can talk about these other things, but I'll tell you something. You get into those districts in South Texas, I'm going to be curious to see whether the voters that they're counting on are going to stick with them, because these are voters who are working class people who are struggling and who are going to be dealing with the cost of these policies, and I think it's going to be problematical for them.
What's at stake? Democratic majority ambitions. If Proposition 50 passes, it could realign 5 Republican-held seats in California to Democratic advantage, shaping the party contest in the 2026 midterms. A precedent-setting move, California is the most visible example of mid-decade redistricting, disrupting the standard post-census cycle, raising questions about state power and electoral map control. Legal and political fallout. California Republicans have already filed lawsuits, and the measure's legality is expected to hinge on constitutional interpretations and court review. National spotlight on Newsom. Governor Newsom's bold strategy elevates his national profile. He's seen as a leading Democratic figure and potential 2028 presidential contender. Broader context. The U.S. House is finely balanced, with control hanging by just a few seats, making state redistricting battles exponentially more consequential. Other states including Ohio, Missouri, Florida, Illinois are watching closely, considering or enacting similar moves as part of partisan strategies ahead of 2026 elections. Partisan gerrymandering remains contested. Critics cite the dilution of minority voting power and erosion of democratic norms, while states like California push for countermeasures, even controversial ones. In summary, California's response to Texas's GOP-led redistricting is a defining moment in the national struggle over congressional control. Prop 50 and the unfolding public debate may set the tone for the 2026 midterms and beyond.